And we'll also update you on currencies later on in the show. But right now, we're going to try to digest some of that pending home sales data that we saw at the top of the hour. For instant reaction, we turn to Roger Kubarych. He's chief U.S. economist at Unicredit Global Research, a former deputy director of research at the New York Fed. Roger, thank you so much for joining us here today. I appreciate it. I understand you're in better health than you have been in weeks previous. I appreciate you coming into the studio. That pending home sales number coming in stronger than many expected. How much do we read into this?
I think that that's very solid evidence that the housing market is bottoming. How strong the recovery will be in actual sales, I think it'll probably be pretty decent. We have a lot of government programs, the first home buyer payment that you can get, various measures to bring down foreclosures, and interest rates pretty steady on mortgages, and availability is up for prime borrowers. So you add it all up, the conditions for better housing markets are there, but the home builders, they're still struggling, and that'll continue.
Isn't June usually a good month for this, though? I mean, kids are out of school, people are moving around. It's easier to change homes at this time of year.
That's why we look at these year-over-year comparisons. Right. The year-over-year comparisons take care of that seasonal adjustment for you kind of automatically. Okay. You're looking against one good June against another good June. I think probably the big story will be income generation. If the job market settles down and we stop having all the layoffs by the fall, we'll get a better read on how much of a recovery housing is having.
And that's a big if, because you talk to CEOs and very few of them will give you the assurance that they're done with their layoffs. Though then you get the initial claims number like we did last week, and it looks like the pace of cuts is slowing.
Yeah, I think the pace of cuts is slowing, but is rehiring happening?
That's the huge question, right?
In recessions past, back when I was first learning about economics in the old century, most people were rehired by the firms that laid them off when we had recessions. That's not happening anymore. Now people, when they're laid off, they're really permanent reductions in staff, and they have to find jobs in other industries, often, certainly in other firms. And that takes a lot more time. So the job market's going to stay a lot weaker than the GDP.
Well, personal spending we saw today rose 0.4%, more than consensus, but incomes themselves, which you were just mentioning, down more than 1%.
Yeah, but that also reflects all these government programs, different Social Security programs, different unemployment programs. They'll have to extend this extended unemployment benefit. A lot of people are going to lose access to that, and that brings that number down.
And beyond that, there's also the question of what happens not just with the government dole, but with severance programs. Those people who have been laid off and now are waiting for those programs.
They get for a while. They don't really have to go into the job market in a big way, but eventually those sort of golden paychecks tarnish, and they have to do that. So I think that the best way of depicting this economy ahead is a W shape. A couple of quarters of real good GDP improvement because of inventory rebuilding, then a couple of quarters where things aren't so strong, and this kind of sawtooth pattern could last a couple of years.
Where are we in that W?
Well, we're right now the third quarter starting off very strong. Okay. Both in terms of orders and in terms of this car program, the cash for clunkers is working.
So, but you do think another leg down? Oh yeah. Before we come back up?
We'll have another leg down early next year, and then this will go back and forth for a couple of years. Okay. This is a very powerful set of recessionary forces. They don't go away just in a few weeks.
All right. Well, it's not the best note to end on, but I love having you here, Roger. Thank you so much. A W-shaped recovery. Roger Kubarych of Unicredit Global Research.